storyline for both of these teams. For SK, it's about proving they actually are as good as they were in the spring split. Team that did place 4th, they had a great showing. And for H2k, it's just really a little bit more of the same. Control 10 minutes from 0 to 10, and then accelerate 10 to 20. I think H2k, they're just refining the playstyle that got them to 3rd in spring.
Yeah, that's basically what they've been doing, and the biggest part of the refining has been Odoamne. I can't wait to see what he plays.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Odoamne and Freddy share the exact same champion pool. They both played the Na, the Maokai, the Rumble. We also see similarities in the AD carry pool with the Kalista, with the Sivir. So I want to see how and where those two particular roles play out. And we'll find out. Ryze already banned, targeted away from Odoamne.
And that's a blue side Ryze ban. Freddy is not comfortable enough on Ryze to first pick it, and that is a big problem if you're SK coming into this draft. H2k will be very happy with having another ban available for themselves. It's not the first time we've seen Ryze as a blue side ban. Certainly has been seen over in LCK, but that's not a good start for SK in my mind.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out. I mean, Origin had an answer. They didn't ban it on blue side. They let it go through for it. So prioritizing the Gragas as their first pick. Junglers still up and available. Lulex has only played Evelynn and Rek'Sai, but he's done it significantly better than Svenskeren, who in my eyes needs to find a groove. He's played Evelynn, Lisa, Nidalee, and Sejuani, and all 4 of them, there were problems at different times. I think that's the best way to talk about it. Kalista off the pool, Kog'Maw from H2k targeting SK. That's not something we've seen them really play with, and we can assume that would have been a mid lane Kog.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. Haven't really had any signs that Fox is all that much of a Kog'Maw player, but certainly is strong just in general. SK with some real weird bans when you look at things, like a Kassadin ban as well on blue side. This tells me they're looking for a mid lane that you would imagine would be counterpicked with the Kassadin. I wonder, Fox, could he be looking for an Echo? Could he be looking for something that's strong in the mid lane now that you've got 3 other mid lane picks, LeBlanc, Kassadin, and Kog'Maw off the table? I wonder.
The answer will be found out shortly. The
No.
answer will not
No,
be
it
Echo.
won't be.
It has been banned 3 for 3. You can hear the crowd disappointed. That's not really called for, guys, but we want to see it too. First pick Rek'Sai. Taking that away from Lulex, Evelynn is still up and available, but I like the fact that Sven has got a slightly more meta pick for the time being, and it also fits his aggressive play style. Let's see what H2k prioritize. Gragas is up. Rumble is up. Sivir is up. There's a lot of power picks for H2k to choose from.
Alistar, Morgana, Thresh. We know that H2k like to prioritize Thresh fairly early if they are going for it. Kasing really has the pick of the litter when it comes to his support picks, and I feel like that's going to push it further down the draft, perhaps, for H2k.
So it has been pushed further down because it is the Rumble that Odoamne has carried on in the past, and the Sivir that Hyunan's used to help Odoamne carry on in the past.
And these 2 champions alone tell you that H2k are going to be very comfortable in the mid game when it comes to fighting.
One thing it does also highlight, Stress, is the style H2k want to run. So this is going to give SK a lot of time to pick around what H2k's put on the board. Let's see if SK can find the answer, because traditionally their priorities have not let them necessarily counter their opponents particularly effectively in their 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, that's very true. I wonder what SK are going to look for. From the AD carry role, though, for Candy Panda, now that Kalista isn't available, as it has been banned by themselves, Lucian is the only other champion he's played now that Sivir is not available. So will Candy Panda go for the Lucian? Well, they're hovering the Urgot, but I honestly, I don't feel like SK are going to opt for that.
Yeah, Urgot into Sivir, something that is not particularly great. They do not go for it, as you alluded to, and it is the Janna and Victor. So blind picking the mid lane, despite having the option to pick your AD carry and top. So an interesting pick ban phase here from SK.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with this. Victor is fairly strong right now, but there are a whole bunch of mid lane champions available. You know that H2k are probably going to look to counter pick it anyway since they're red side, so you have to blind pick a mid lane. Cassiopeia, Azir are still available in this game. Ryu...
He's even ran Fizz in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, he hasn't run either Cassiopeia or Azir in the summer split, but certainly you would imagine he has them available to pull out here.
So the Thresh will most likely be locked in, is what we're expecting for Kasing. It does look to be the Gragas here for Lulex, so high priority junglers. It would be the first time Lulex has run Gragas out of the jungle. Kasing actually switches over to Annie. He's going to be looking to try get as much damage down on those engages as possible. But again, it's all about just Sivir Annie to get in, Rumble to get down, and a near insta-lock Vayne. That's into Annie and a Dr. Mundo for Freddy.
Okay, so Mundo going, well, Freddy going way back into seasons gone by, picking up this Mundo in the top lane. It's a pick that comes out every so often when you need that frontline tank. And now Candy Panda on Vayne. This is a very different style out of SK to what they've been playing the last few weeks, at least. On the other side of the rift, though, this is very similar to what H2k have just played in general. Sivir Annie worked for them the entirety of the spring split. Odoamne's Rumble has been insanely good over the last week. Now the only thing left, the thing that remains, is to find out what they want against this Victor in the middle lane for Ryu.
Ryu's got a lot of options available. Talking to Prolly, who is of course his coach and former mid laner for Complexity. Gonna have some opinions to bounce around, but SK pulling out the Mundo. That's the first time in the summer split. And gonna opt for Twisted Fate into Victor and Vayne.
Okay, out of everything, I wasn't exactly expecting that, but one thing that will give H2k is the ability to lock down Vayne. You can say, hey, you've got a front line of Mundo, I'm just going to go in behind Mundo if you can get there. It's a pick that we see every so often, more so out of Giants than anybody else here in Europe. I believe this is the first time we're seeing Twisted Fate in the summer split, and I would hazard a guess that it was only a handful of times in spring.
Definitely not something that comes up very often, but H2k, a lot of options when it comes to engaging multiple directions, and we know Kasing likes to move around the map, especially on Annie. But one thing that is true about Kasing's Annie, it either goes 5-0 or it goes 0-5. There's not much room in between those, and I remember that quite clearly because last split I was praising his Annie only to watch it get blown up. But if you're H2k and you're 3-1 versus 0-4, why not pick all the engaged tools at your disposal?
Yeah, I mean, that's H2k quintessentially, is they hit 20 minutes and say, okay, we're going to engage on you and just continue to take objectives. So not too surprising out of H2k, but there's a lot of different stuff out of SK here.
Definitely the case. So we heard from SK in their press conference earlier today, and Rayta talking a lot about what SK needs to change up. They've picked different picks and bans. Hashtag SK win if you think it's going to be enough, and if they can pick up their first win. Or hashtag H2k win if you believe in the team that beat SK in Madrid in the third place qualifier. Candy Panda, he's up on the wall. He was immortalized in the Berlin studio, and he's back in the summer split. And he's arguably the strongest performing member of SK thus far. Will that strength be enough to overpower H2k? We'll find out shortly.
We'll find out, but SK, I feel like this composition is a fairly tricky one to play. They don't have a whole lot of engage or crowd control in general. They're relying a lot on the disengage that's going to come from N-rated. So SK, if they get dragged into fights when that Monsoon isn't available, they may be in a little bit of trouble.
So Monsoon timers, everybody needs to keep their eyes on it. We are going to see a slightly different level 1. SK again with an invade. This backfired last week and cost SK flashes. This time around, H2k is not able to respond with champions. It looks like they're going to mirror the deep warding of their opponents. We do see Odoamne on screen, and stress, he's actually got the highest percentage of team damage out of all top laners in Europe. You can see the percentage, 32% of his team's damage. I really just want to hit home how high that is in contrast to Freddy, right? Odoamne is averaging 617 damage per minute. Freddy is averaging 273.
Okay, that's a fair difference. I mean, Freddy has, to some extent, in certain games, been playing different champions. He played Rumble once, the others have been Na and Maokai, so there is a bit of a disparity, but certainly the contrast is there to be made because Freddy's, again, on a low...
I've got to stop you. I've got to stop you because Oduwamne's Na...
Yeah, okay.
Went DPS, Black Cleaver.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Just remind you should remember these Black Cleaver Na builds. We've seen them a few times now.
Yeah.
Hurricane's the next step.
I was going to say, we haven't yet seen Wicked Hurricane make it into the LCS. For anybody that was watching the Challenger Series qualifier earlier this week, that was a very interesting build, but that does not have any impact on this game. What does have impact on this game is the duo lane swap. As we're going to have the Australian lanes, as my co-caster Pulse would normally say.
Duos are up top as Candy Panda's gone aggressive onto Kasing for a few trades. I like that, the Australia lanes. And while that's going on, we do also see Freddy's Dr. Mundo down bottom. The one thing I do like about Dr. Mundo is nobody on H2k side that I can see blowing him up once we get mid to late, if SK can do it. But Candy Panda playing super aggressively, rolling and tumbling into Kasing and Hyana.
And they got a lot of damage down onto Kasing, but traded it for damage onto Candy Panda. That's a very difficult thing to pull off now. Once you're in this position, is now your AD carry has to somehow regenerate that health, because every trade from here is going to get Candy Panda lower and lower. So now you're just relying on the health coming back as you're attacking the minions. And it puts it in H2k's favor because look, Kasing has just kind of sustained this all back up for himself. And Candy Panda and N-Rated, yes, they are still chugging pots, but there are a couple more left on the side of SK when you look at things.
Well, we'll see how that comes into play. Very aggressively trading between the duos. Oduwamne with a small advantage over Freddy. You somewhat expect that. And we've not really had a look yet at Ryu versus Fox, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. Sven Skeren, he's going to tunnel his way into the bottom lane. He's looking for Oduwamne. Oduwamne's actually started to overheat. The gank has been mirrored. Lulex, he body slams in. Candy Panda's down. Red buff is now ticking onto N-Rated. A flash over the wall, and Sven Skeren also gets a flash on Freddy, and Oduwamne will go down to the cleaver of Freddy. But it's first blood to H2k. Reply kill to SK.
SK in two different sides of the map have two completely different visions. You see that SK in the top side was still kind of pushed up after that first set of trades, and good readout by Lulex. We haven't really seen him on this Gragas before, but now we're starting to see this early game pressure coming from Lulex.
Very well played. Sven Skeren also with an early kill on the board. The assist allows Hyana to grab himself a pickaxe, but no potions. However, Candy Panda's grabbed himself a long sword and a couple of potions. It looked like the lanes have reverted back to normality, and H2k will be matching SK.
It's a bit of a problem, though, for SK now, if they want to sit in this 2v2. It was tricky enough at first. SK did manage to get the level advantage early on, but now H2k, the amount of damage that's going to come from this Sivir and this Annie is very difficult for a Vayne and a Janna to sit in. And it was an easy call from H2k to swap, because Vayne Janna is going to want to swap basically every single game. So even though SK got all of the wards down to begin this game, it didn't really help him in that setup.
Fortunately not. We do see Freddy and Oduwamne, the most exciting farm battle ever. Small advantage to Oduwamne despite actually giving up first blood. Candy Panda, he's found Kasing. Condemned could be a trouble. It does pin him against the wall. Candy Panda's going to carry on chasing. Silver Bolt may be enough. We see Kasing going down. Candy flashes over. Silver Bolt's proc will secure the kill. And we saw Sven Skeren tunneling in, but that's a kill on the board for Vayne, despite being down. Big advantage.
And it's all because Lulex was stood on a ward topside. They saw Gragas, and it meant that they could engage, but now Lulex goes in.
No flash and nothing else to play with. I think Freddy's just going to get run down. 200 HP, 150, 110. Lulex is unable to secure it. The overheating Oduwamne couldn't get more abilities down.
We're starting to see SK with a bit more of a different game plan. Now they go on Hyanan.
Oh, that's a great condemn into the wall, but the minions aren't there to back it up. So Hyanan manages to stay alive, and we actually just caught a quick glimpse of mid lane. Ryu forced to use Ghost from what I believe was a gank from Sven Skeren. So action across the map.
And what this is going to do is actually cool H2k off for a minute or so, because Ryu just got his ultimate available, just at level 6. Now that Ghost isn't available, it makes it more difficult for him to roam outside of his lane, which gives SK a little bit more freedom when it comes to pushing up in the bottom lane. However, they haven't particularly cleared out the woods. There are a couple of pinks here that H2k recently put down in the river that is going to allow Ryu to roam out of his lane without being spotted. So
SK with a small advantage early. Did a similar thing against Fnatic, in fact, and pushed Fnatic really, really hard. And we'll need to see if they can do the same. Svenskeren chilling up top, waiting to see if Freddy was to get ganked. However, we'll catch a glimpse of Lulex down bottom. Level 6 is getting very close for both Odoamne and Freddy. Odoamne actually goes in before Freddy has access to sadism. We do see Twisted Fate coming in with Destiny. He gates in, lands the wild cards, but there's the sadism. And Freddy is just going to regen all of the damage he's taken. A 2-0 Mundo at 7.5 minutes.
Freddy's gone back to an old favorite, and it is working out pretty well for him now, as Sven's been playing around Freddy. This is very similar to kind of what we were talking about with Steve from Rocket at the end of the previous game, is that they've been struggling on Freddy because Freddy has been in these 1v1 situations, which normally he would be very good at, but he just hasn't always found his presence on the map when it comes to teleport plays, unlike the rest of the top laners in Europe. But now SK putting a lot more focus, putting 2v1s in that top side of the map with the jungle top combo.
And you've got to highlight the fact that Ryu's first ultimate, which is around 3 minutes cooldown, at level 1, is simply not useful. So there's this air of safety now on the side of SK. They know they can at least play another minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe, while that Destiny is still on cooldown. So let's see what H2k can do to control themselves. It's traditionally between 10 and 20 minutes that they find objectives, they find towers. And with a Rumble Sivir combo, you should be able to do the same.
It's a really good sign for SK, though, that they've started out this game like this. It's they've been one of the teams that have kind of looked very lifeless in the last couple of weeks, other than that start where Sven was playing Nidalee. I believe it was against Fnatic. But now they're starting to come into their own a little bit more, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this game plays out, because H2k aren't going to take this line down, but certainly they now have to play a lot more cautiously with regards to how they play against SK.
So we did see Candypan and Rater trying to get back, trying to go purchase items, and they were harassed and poked and annoyed by Hyonin and Kasing. Hyonin's now got a lot of time on that tower, while Svenskeren stolen away the red buff. Lulex does not have access to the explosive cast, and the support coming in from Odoamne. Body slam comes over, but it hits a Krug. That equalizer's not going to do a huge amount as Odoamne, he gets flash engaged upon. Lulex still does not have access to his ultimate, and Ryu, with no Destiny, cannot respond quickly enough. Fox is chasing Ryu through the jungle, and Lulex forced to flash away. Odoamne, the man that we were praising, the man that we were saying has carried H2k in the last 2 weeks, is 0, 3, and 0.
And that is more deaths in the first 10 minutes of this game than he had in the entirety of the other 2 games put together on Rumble right now. And Freddy seems to have turned things completely around this week.
I think that's a lot to do with Svenskeren as well.
I would agree.
Svenskeren helping him out in lane and calling in the support on the invade. SK have found an early game advantage, 1,500 gold at 10 minutes. Let's see if they can maintain that lead.
That is the trick to this one. They have to stay ahead, because they've had leads in the past and they've slipped away from themselves. I'm still interested to see how this Twisted Fate is going to play out the further we get into this game. Ryu, because of his roaming, is down in CS against Fox's Victor. You would kind of expect that. And actually, Victor is just going to continue to push the lane in on Ryu and make his roaming even harder and punish him more for pushing or for roaming outside of his lane. But H2k, if they can get the numbers advantage, certainly can look to pick up a couple more kills on SK before we really start to see a lot of Dragon fights.
Ryu's going to have to time that really well. If you see a Victor anywhere nearby, gravity field on top of the gate, so the Destiny's going to be so easy. Wow!
Here's
Flash Timbers onto Candy Panda. The teleport comes in so early. Odoamne is just there on the tri-bush. Enrated gets barreled backwards. 10 minutes on the clock. H2k, This is what they do, and they will grab the first tower of the game. It may cost them, though, as middle and top's been shoved in.
Never underestimate the ability for Ryu and Odoamne to show up at the same time. Comboing the teleport with the ultimate is exactly what H2k are going to do. But yes, they've lost mid-turret, but the amount of sheer tower pushing potential that this bottom lane stack has right now, it is going to result in a second tower going down for H2k.
2 towers to 1 and a kill. All of a sudden, H2k regain the gold lead from being down. They might get pinched in. 3 members of H2k. Remember, there's no teleport.
Teleport is coming from Freddy, though.
Odoamne. Freddy's coming in with sadism, and you can see Svenskeren around. Hjarnan managed to make it away. Kasing's going to be the first one to fall as Fox takes a lot of auto attacks, so SK will be happy to at least get an exit frag.
Odoamne now has to push top lane because they're going to lose the dragon from this, so he has to try and get as much done to that tower as he can. Teleport not available for Freddy as he just used it to the bottom lane, means he can't teleport the top lane to stop the tower going down, but at the same time that tower is full health still. Odoamne's only just getting damage down onto it now as he pushes up to it and has to back away, so H2k a little punished for taking down that inner tower.
But this is something that you can see reflected in the statistics. SK are much more dragon focused than H2k. However, H2k do traditionally take more towers in the 10 to 20 minute mark. Let's see if they can keep that up. 2 to 1. That tower took a lot of damage, as we can see Freddy as well as Svenskeren making their way back.
Well, it's going to go quietly for the next couple of minutes, I would imagine, from H2k's side. They can't really make the same play again without setting the map up. They'll be happy that they're a little ahead on gold, but now with that dragon in the bank for SK, it does start begging the question of we have to make sure we don't let too many slip away from us. But H2k grouping in the middle lane for now. It looks like they want to pressure out this turret. The time is up because they see Candy Panda down in the bottom lane. That's the key factor here, and they know this tower should be somewhat simple to start pushing towards after a couple of waves. Just again and again, just get damage, back away for as long as Candy Panda's bot.
Yeah, the only person that's really got wave clear is Fox on that Victor. So if H2k wanted to keep doing it, they could rinse and repeat. Instead, they let the wave get cleared out, back away and look to secure this blue buff for Ryu. He's going to have access to Destiny and level 11 very, very soon. Yeah, he's a level away, actually, just only hit 10.
Yeah, you can see that H2k left Sivir and Annie in the mid lane, though. So just to make sure that every time Victor's trying to push the wave out, it's just getting cleared straight back again. And H2k will continue to keep their duo lane around this middle part of the map because Ryu, he, with his ultimate, can just get back to mid if he needs it. But he may be in a little trouble here because Sven is there. Ryu doesn't know it yet. He did cross a ward in the river.
Ryu's got knocked up and he's got munched. He lands the gold card. He's going to Destiny away. And he makes it out clean. Very, very close. But important to note, the pressure cooldown, the pressure reliever has been activated. And SK can play without fear of Destiny for a little while.
Lulex is trying to stop the turret from going down, but that ain't gonna happen. He just tried to buy a little bit of time, but that's another ultimate used by H2k. Not too bad on that one. It is a fairly short cooldown. And if it had worked, it would have been okay. But just trying to disrupt Candy Panda's auto-attacking there.
Also signals a lot about H2k's intentions for the next few minutes. Really looking to set something up. You see Freddy, level 10, does have flash, does have sadism. About to get the support of the farm alarm from Svenskeren's Rek'Sai, and you see Hjarnan just trying to get some auto attacks on the tower before backing away.
Yeah, H2k are actually getting called by SK every time they start moving around the map. That's a couple of ultimates.
We do see Tibbers coming down, it's burning away from SK. Tornado unable to secure, and look at the invasion from the river.
Kasing just used his ultimate when he didn't have the stun stacked. He just threw Tibbers down. Because look, the stun is charged up now and he hasn't really cast anything since. That interesting misplay by Kasing there.
Well, played the feature just a moment ago, and what an impact Kasing has had on H2k and the team environment. Fantastic, fantastic to hear his side of the story, and also to hear the praise from Hjarnan to Kasing. Also great to hear the praise from the rest of the players towards Prolly as well, their coach. H2k are just a team that seem to have come together and show that as a team they are better than any individual player.
So I just went back and checked a little bit to see exactly. Yes, he did throw it down when he didn't have the stun, but it was for a reason. He was blocking out the cleavers that Mundo was throwing out in that little engage. So Kasing, as soon as you think maybe he's made a misplay, actually turns out that he's just saving his team. So certainly accounted for something there.
Yeah, no flash used from Hyeonin either, but nobody in the top lane from H2k. A late arriving Hyeonin means SK take the tower advantage, and they press their gold lead further. You look at the items, Eye Edge for Hyeonin, Blade of the Ring King for Candy Panda, Abyssal Scepter for Fox. So he's starting to hit those first item spikes. Candy Panda maybe fancies himself about with Ryu. Doesn't really have support yet. Instead, he's just going to be super brave to get out.
Yeah, as much as he could have condemned Ryu into the wall, didn't have the exact read. I think he knew that Lulex was kind of close, but now they will see him on the pink ward and know that it was fairly safe to back away.
Yeah, something I do want to highlight is something that we were looking at and talking to our stats guys, thank you, Spelzy, coming into this week, was the average game times. And I know it's still early in the split, but H2k actually have the lowest average game time at 29 minutes, 50 seconds. And that's twofold, because number one, it usually means they absolutely dominate the games they win, but also the game they've lost, they got absolutely dominated. The reason I highlight that now, we're approaching 20 minutes, and it feels like things are very, very even. This is the first time that H2k have had a slower 20-minute phase. They're behind in gold, they're not in control, but they're not being smashed either, so we're move away from the normal trends.
Yeah, we're about to hit the point at which, when we showed the gold graphs at the beginning of the split, as to the point at which H2k just kind of go full engage everything forward mode, and we're about there. We're about 2 minutes away. It would be very similar to what happened in our first game of the Ryu's going up top. Actually, is going to get the stun. Well,
we see gold card, we see Ghost. Ryu is eating an infected cleaver, burning agony, as well as that masochism is doing work. Another gold card connects. Lulex force, he misses the barrel. Explosive cast doesn't connect. Ryu is looking to be in a little bit of trouble. Not going to be enough for the kill. H2k throw everything in the kitchen sink just to kill Freddy's Mundo, but they lose a dragon in reply. There's a big minion wave building up bottom.
Second of the game going over to SK, and you know, SK seem to have taken the approach of, if maybe Freddy's not feeling too confident when it comes to actually playing around the map with teleport, let's just make sure he's a big enough of a factor so the rest of us can get stuff done, because now they're taking down another turret. This is going to even up the turret that H2k took earlier and actually put SK with 4 towers to 2 on H2k.
Yeah, we do see the tower up top going down thanks to the minions. But 20 minutes about to tick over. This time around, Ryu has picked up that hourglass. He just picked it up thanks to that previous assist from farm. But he's down 40 CS. It's even across the rest of the map. But Ryu's Twisted Fate, his roams and his movement from lane, is starting to hurt him and starting to show through.
It is. It doesn't seem to be helping the team enough, really, to account for the disparity, because you look at down all of the lanes, everything else is just about even when it comes to kill and CS share across the team. So yes, Ryu is getting himself out on the map, but H2k aren't doing too much with it.
Do put some more pressure on this middle tower, but that wave clear from Victor and that death rate is doing a lot of work clearing out the wave. It has obviously been augmented. It's the Hex Core Mark 1. The only upgrade that he's secured just for the moment. Kasing is about to find himself between a rock, a hard place, and a Queen of the Xur's Eye. He's going to land a stun, flashes over the wall. Candy Panda follows suit. He manages to grab himself a second kill. Lulex throws down the explosive cast. This time it hits. We do see Vayne using that passive to run in. Hyeonin under some pressure. Teleport coming out from Odoamne as Svenskeren eats a gold card. Now Odoamne and Ryu trying to put damage down, but Odoamne gives up his 4th death. Equalizer was burning down SK, but it just wasn't enough. And H2k coming apart at the seams, it seems.
It's a telling play that Odoamne teleports in, his first players to flash out after throwing his ultimate down. But honestly, SK are looking like a different team to what we've seen in weeks 1 and 2 here. This is a much stronger SK than I think H2k were expecting.
And it, in my opinion, has all stemmed from Svenskeren's impact. He's got his hands on Rek'Sai, which was first picked in the draft. Remember that. Gragas was available, Nidalee available, Lee Sin available. Picked that Rek'Sai. He's had a good impact in lanes. We'll carry on in a moment. Here's Kasing getting calls.
Yeah, well, this is the Rek'Sai working for him, and it was enough, the damage between both Candy Panda and Svenskeren. Sven with that warrior build, just to set that up. Candy Panda aggressively flashing himself into the pit is a play that, you know, we kind of haven't expected out of Candy Panda all that much. At this point, SK aren't really even doing too much to H2k other than looking pretty menacing at that point. Candy Panda was actually taking down the Rift Scuttler, but speaking of menacing, Odo Amne, he's gone.
2 and 5. The commentator's curse, or analyst desk curse, if you will. Tibber stuns this time. We do see Enrated throwing down the Monsoon. It keeps Candy alive for a few seconds longer. Enough to get Freddy to teleport in. Now Ryu, Hyonin, and Kasing are trying to get away. On the hunt comes down, but Freddy is just sustaining himself through. Auto attack after auto attack, and the boomerang secures the kill. It took a long time, but it finally got done. H2k 1 for 2, and a tower to boot.
H2k are not done in this one yet. They still are making plays using Ryu's ultimate, getting himself into the backline. That's really the impact of this, is get onto the Vayne, blow up Vayne, and that's so much of the damage being down for SK. I want to see how early Ryu actually teleported. Yeah, it was already set up. Look at that. Just instantly, as soon as that Tibbers lands, they knew they could get the kill there and get themselves all the way back out from this. Rek'Sai had already been in the top lane, they'd already shown that, so no real risk after the ultimate of her getting in the fight too quickly.
One thing I do want to highlight, it took a long time for Hyonin to get Freddy down. Freddy's still not built up a large amount of armor, despite having high hit points.
Yeah.
Once he gets himself for more armor, Sivir's not really the greatest tank killer. We really need to see just how H2k plan on dealing with Mundo. Assuming H2k get to the backline, fine, you can focus him down with numbers. I'm just a little hesitant to assume Kasing's always going to be able to stun Candy Panda or Fox.
I agree with you. It's going to be a tough task when Freddy's actually grouping with the team like that, and it's a 5 versus 5, but H2k are going to rely on mobility. You can see Kasing opting towards going for that Talisman of Ascension, but with 50 seconds until the next dragon coming up, H2k are going to have to find themselves in a situation to fight once again very soon.
Svenskeren got himself the Hex Drinker, got himself a Randian's Omen. He'll be trying to zone away Hyonin Sivir if he can. 30 seconds until that dragon spawns. Minion wave top is pushing towards SK. H2k will be happy with that. Both teams have secured 4 towers before, so they're really got to go deep into enemy territory if they want more objectives.
They will do, but H2k and SK right now will be playing around for that next dragon. There's not too much of a rush to do anything other than that right now. There's taking a look at the items. Zhonya's Hourglass has been completed on Ryu, has been for a little while. Opted for that first rather than the Lich Bane, because he knows as long as he gets a stun down onto Candy Panda, they can fight this. There's the equalizer.
Ryu's gone in, he's forced to Hourglass early. Fox is already down as the Chaos Storm continues to tick away. That's a flash defensively from Svenskeren. He tunnels into the river. Now Candy Panda's looking for targets. There's a few that are low, but H2k are split up. I think this plays into SK's favor. We see the Prey Seeker going out. Freddy is being focused down as Candy Panda comes over the wall, but he gets burned out by Oduwamne. We do see Freddy, he gets himself another one, as we see another kill picked up by Hyonin. This is messy and triple, I believe that was. At the end of it all, Hyonin 5-0 and 4. H2k peel away from SK's re-engage, but that fight started on H2k's terms.
It did, and H2k managed to get the better re-engage after SK tried to counter themselves. The damage dealers for H2k actually found themselves untouched and unfocused. Oh, Lulex is down. This is not going to be a Baron attempt that H2k can actually go from. Not quite as tanky as he would have liked at this point. So watch for this fight after the SK re-engage here. Candy Panda's still not with the team and is a long way out. This is the play that Ryu needs to make, whether it's onto Victor or Vayne. But watch the fight split here, and look at where SK put their focus. As Candy Panda rejoins, H2k know they have to just kind of spread back out and bait Candy Panda onto this ledge, or at least the area where H2k are trying to fight from. At this point, Candy Panda is so far away from the rest of the fight that Hyanan and Ryu are just cleaning up. Add on to that Odoamne outputting damage in the middle of the fight as well. Hyanan and Ryu can just get themselves back into the fight and clean the rest of SK up.
So important to see the lack of Candy Panda early stages. But while the replay was going on, SK did secure the third dragon. So 26 minutes, 3 dragons to 0. Even on gold, even on towers, 1 kill difference. At some point, H2k are going to have to challenge for that dragon. They don't have many opportunities left.
Dying to Baron was quite the blunder by H2k there. They had full control over that. They could have just gone for the dragon and stopped SK going for the 5 dragon tipping point of the game and really slowed SK down a lot more than they should be able to, but not being able to get the Baron, not being able to get the dragon for themselves. I feel like this is only the 4th or 5th game that we've ever seen H2k give away all 3 of the first 3 dragons. And the only people they've really done that to, or had that done by, would have been Fnatic or SK's Spring Split roster.
So
and now Origin, actually.
Big changes here in the summer split. We're 27 minutes in. Candy Panda 200 CS. He's really trying to farm his way up. It feels quite underpowered. Fox, on the other hand, doing exceptionally well. 290 to Ryu's 230. But unfortunately, he's been focused down really heavily in these team fights.
He has. It's not too much of a problem for him because of the CS lead that he's got right now. He's also got a couple of kills under his belt, so he's actually fine with that, I feel. His role in team fights is a little different to how you sometimes expect a Victor, because he isn't looking to annihilate the enemy mid lane in these fights as such. He's a lot more about zoning for Vayne to output a lot of damage. Yes, Victor is going to have damage as well, but Gravity Field plus the Chaos Storm is going to force H2k into different areas of the fight. He doesn't have to Ghost Flash onto the likes of a squishy mid laner, because Ryu's going to put himself right into the middle of this fight.
Let's see if Ryu can try to target the stun. 009, despite the fact he's been throwing himself into almost every team fight. Only 10 kills for H2k. It's all been about this mid game. And we did see Kasing for a moment there on your screen. He's actually got himself a Righteous Glory. Here's Ryu. Destiny goes out. He's gating onto Candy Panda. You can't stealth that. Very quick QSS as we see Candy Panda trying to get away. He's flashed for safety. Enraged and Fox being focused down as Odoamne does not manage to get on with the missiles. Now Freddy is in the middle of H2k. Ryu flashes over.
Again.
Wild cards and auto attack. Manages to secure a kill. Gravity Field will not be stunning up Ryu, but we do see a burst down from the Luden's Echo as well. 1 for 1 at the moment, as we did see Candy Panda get dropped a moment or 2 ago. So H2k ends up winning the team fight, looking for more, unable to get it. 1 for 2 at the end of it all, Stress.
1 for 2, and Ryu was the only one that fell, again, even though he threw himself into the fight. Really important thing that happened in this team fight for SK to try and hold this on for themselves. Freddy hit his ultimate the moment the Twisted Fate Destiny appeared on top of their heads, or hit his teleport, sorry, if you'll get him into the fight. From there, he's just kind of running around in the middle of the fight, just holding H2k back. Ryu makes a big play during this, just flashing again onto Candy Panda. He's the only target really they have to focus on, and he was split up from the team here. They can see it, but gets himself out of the first stun, outputs a lot of damage, but you can see he's just not winning that trade against Hyanan. And from here, Freddy already into the fight is causing so much of a problem, but Ryu with the big plays over the wall. His only focus was take Candy Panda out.
And he did it. He found him. We did see Freddy and Rated and Fox getting caught up by the Equalizer and the Kasing stun on the Tibbers. But again, we're still even on gold. We're about still even on tons. It's not equating to more objectives. And another dragon will be spawning in a minute and a half, Stress. SK have had absolute dragon control. You have to feel H2k gaining confidence to challenge for that.
H2k need to get this one, just as a baseline here. Kianan is kind of, in this game, Kianan's getting a lot more freedom than I feel like he should do against this strong Mundo because how late Mundo has itemized armor. Kianan actually has got himself now a fair amount of items when you look at it. 605 overall, has a Phantom Dancer Last Whisper completed, looking for, I would imagine, the BF sword for either a Bloodthirster or a Mercurial Scimitar if he wants it. Not a lot to get rid of in this game though. Not a lot of crowd control as we said at the beginning of this one for SK, so I would imagine it will be that BT.
For H2k though, they've had two very important team fights back to back where they've been able to really just root SK. Starting the battle on their terms. We did see that drop down a moment ago. H2k's average game time has come and gone. It was around 29 minutes. Nowhere near finishing this one yet because neither team has a solid foothold. But it's good to see that SK are putting up much better fights. Last week they had a great performance against Fnatic. Today they had a good early game, especially with Svenskern's impact, but unfortunately they seem to be losing out in the team fights. They'll need to adjust that strategy. The Baron gets started here by H2k. Destiny, I believe, was used. You can see the giant Eye of Saruman on SK. Ryu's going to join his team, but they peeled away from Baron.
They got a turret though, and that is exactly what they were looking for from that. If at any time H2k can just pull SK around the map and stop SK from just absolutely denying H2k objectives, then they will start whittling down these turrets. Candy Panda, on the other hand, though, is a massive problem. But he isn't farming as well as you'd expect. All of the farm has been given to Fox. Candy Panda has now drifted down heavily in CS. No Last Whisper even on Candy Panda yet.
220 Candy Panda, 210 on Freddy. But even though to one day, he's only got 190 CS himself. It seems like Kianan's got all of the tools. So Dragon was secured. H2k, they popped the Righteous Glory and they didn't find anything. That's Dragon number 4 to SK-Gaming. Looks like they're toying with the idea of a fight. Oduwamne is backing. He has teleport available. We'll see if SK can get onto H2k quickly enough. It doesn't look like they will.
I feel like I'm watching a very different H2k to normal. They have just given every dragon for very little in return. And SK are having a lot of freedom on the map. H2k still up in gold a lot because of the farm in the 80 carries, but then you look at the mid laner as well, and Fox is nearly 100 farm up, so it is also to do with that turret that H2k have at the moment. But they haven't got enough of a lead from turrets to make it not worth it for SK. SK are fine being a little bit lower in gold, but being one dragon away from what should win them a game, but that's an ultimate popped.
And another time Candy Panda's on the side farming. Sven gets caught up by Tibbers. Gold card stuns him on the burning plate of Equalizer. Freddy's getting chunked down, he gets knocked back. Lulex lands a great explosive cask, and H2k get 2 rapid kills before Candy Panda can even join his team. He just wants CS, and he's not able to get it.
H2k should be able to get Baron this time, though none of them are particularly low. However, bottom wave is pushing in towards them. Lulex actually is lower than I previously thought. SK may go for an engage, but they got to match H2k.
Wild Fox has got caught up by the gold card. Candy Panda instantly gets peeled on. 5 members of H2k land the poke down. Kianan gets the auto attack before getting condemned backwards. Fox and Narrator trying to get away. Fox managed to siphon the power of Lulex before the death ray burns through Kianan's HP. Gravity Field will buy a little bit of time, and Fox may be able to get out alive, salvaging the best of a bad situation.
Again, though, SK deny, or this time they deny it, H2k denied it for themselves last time, the ability to take down Baron. And every time this happens, SK are just looking at the timer on Dragon, thinking, okay, we just got to get there. We just have to get to that 5th Dragon point, get that, and then all of the team fighting that H2k is doing fairly well over the last 10 or so minutes is going to be so much more difficult for H2k to pull off because SK will just be so much stronger than them.
Candy Panda's vein this game has not really worked out. 2-6-3. Watch him in this one. Look at the mini-map. He's so far away as H2k engaged.
And this time it means that Ryu, when he pops his ult and sees that, could just go on anybody that's fairly squishy. And Sven isn't particularly tanky. He's opted for the Warriors build. Has himself a Hex Drinker as well, and is only now starting to build tank from it. From here, H2k even save their Ignite because they know Freddy can't survive. But speaking of Freddy not surviving...
Look at that! Everybody from SK is grouped together, and H2k say, yes, please, we'll have a big piece. The explosive cast knocks Freddy back once more. And safety in numbers means H2k secure themselves 2 more kills. The Kasing effect is in full effect, as H2k have a 4-kill advantage, and once again, look to Baron.
Third time's the charm for H2k when it comes to Barons, but H2k have never looked out of this game. SK have looked a lot better than they have before, but H2k have always been good at fighting. And in this game, Hjanen, 907 overall, is having a very good performance. Baron is dropping low. SK are trying to come in from 2 sides.
Svenskeren wants to try and steal it, and he gets it! Svenskeren with the hero play! Kasing's trying to get away, but Candy Panda will not. The kill is secured before Candy's dropped, and ends up being a 1-for-1, but Baron stolen by Svenskeren.
And that may just be enough for SK to hang on to Dragon here. Now they know that the timers will overlap. Only 2 minutes until Dragon number 5, and they have a Baron buff to push all of the waves out. H2k, regardless of the fact that they're team fighting very well, have just given so much over to SK in this game that they've made it so tough to stay in it.
H2k now, after all of their positive team fights, it actually did not equate into map control.
No.
H2k were looking for towers, were looking for fights, and really didn't find it. And this is the Baron steal once more.
Just Sven showing up in this game. Again, he sets the game up for Freddy, and where was Lulex was just not in position to get that at that point. It looked like H2k just didn't have a stop damage call on that one.
And it felt like they were looking to engage as well. Maybe split communication in the H2k camp, feeling the pressure of the game. Stress, 1 minute until Dragon. And SK has the Baron buff. And a big confidence boost on their side. Momentum is with them. The Scuttle Crab is not.
The Scuttle Crab is not a friend of SK's this time around. But when you look at this, SK, they started this game off getting kills onto Candy Panda. Very aggressive plays. Now Candy Panda is getting focused so hard that he's now 3-7. Still has a fair amount of damage, but he's even going somewhat defensively with a Giant's Belt for himself. That is not a standard item whatsoever. He doesn't have a 3rd completed item and has even opted for the QSS to make sure Ryu doesn't stay on him, whereas when you look on the other side of the rift, Hjanen, 908, has many a completed item.
Slightly different story up top though, as you see Odoamne got the Leandries, the Rylai's, the Void Staff, versus what is now becoming a lot of tank. Spirit, Randuins, Warmogs, and a Chain Vest. Will it be enough for Freddy to counterbalance the weaker Candy Panda?
And you can see that Boomerang did a lot less than it has been doing. Ryu's gonna go though.
Wow, Freddy is being melted down. Auto attack after auto attack, crit after crit. Tibbers comes onto Fox's Lulex is gonna knock him against the wall. Monsoon's gonna split up the team fight, but it's H2k with the advantageous numbers. Ryu unable to survive the exchange as Freddy is still ticking away. He's surviving. Hjanen has got a full HP bar and a Bloodthirster to boot. He takes down 1, he takes down 2, and a 2-for-4. As H2k regain control. They could take Dragon if they want to. And it looks like they're splitting their focus.
Outer towers first for H2k by the looks of things, and that's a fight they had to take right then and there because the Dragon would have been too much if SK had got it. Ryu once again right into the backline. This is exactly what this Twisted Fate pick was picked up for, and they annihilate the damage dealers. Candy Panda died to Hjanen again in another fight that we didn't quite catch. At this point, yes, H2k are a little bit low and now looking a little thinner on the numbers, but there's no damage coming out for SK. They're just relying on Svenskeren and Freddy to try and output damage, and it's not enough against this Hjanen Sivir, which is currently now at 12-0-9.
The last pick, Twisted Fate, showing exactly what H2k wanted to do. Every single team fight, Ryu has found a priority target. We weren't sure how he was going to do it, if he was going to do it, but he's proving that he can. Dragon has been started stressing through it. Candy Panda is down. We see Fox following. SK were late to the party. They were greedy for the Dragon, and they'd give up their lives. Oduwamne is angry, and he wants revenge. He punishes Sven Skjeren for focusing his lane, and 4 more kills as H2k look to end the game.
Oh, and at the end of the game, SK are focused on Dragon so much that H2k, yes, they gave them Dragon after Dragon after Dragon the entire game, but H2k have just out-team-fought SK and are pushing for the win.
In a 42-minute epic, H2k are pushed harder than they've had to all split long. They secure themselves the win against SK. That was by no means an easy task. You can see some of the relief on the players' faces.
You certainly can. It's very relieved looks. You come to think of it, the only other tough time that H2k had was against Origin. And Origin basically swept them aside in their path. This time H2k able to hold on, able to use their prowess in team fighting. Give away objectives, but take the team fights. And it was enough in the end to unseat SK in this game.
Glimmers of hope for SK Gaming. They were unable